Good evening. You're listening live to the Xtreme Movie Show. Tonight's episode is called Xtreme TV, where I, your host, Rob, broadcasting to you live from the Pine Hills Palace, just west of Orlando, Florida. Max and Daisy, my German Shepherd, Czechoslovakian Red, short-haired, not sabled, purebreds, keep us safe while we can transmit here in the flurry of gunfire. I have to bring to you tonight's episode of Wayward Pines, Season 1, Episode 4. And, of course, I'm joined by the young 20-something also from the Central Florida area. And there was a time, Professor Pines, when, where Max and Daisy are patrolling the grounds. I have this vast acreage over here by a little tiny lake. It's got quite a view over the hills of Central Florida where I can see and smell the orange blossoms coming into play. And I got to tell you, why is that important here? Because there's a very great line here in Wayward Pines. It has to do with the pine trees, the mountains, and like the dead bodies or something like that. I was like, whoa, that caught me off guard, Sheriff, because now there's a new sheriff in Wayward Pines. And there's a new school. There's indoctrination of the young. There's, I think, a CIA honeypot plan in here, and the girl that wants to walk him home. That's very, very obvious. There's adult stuff in here, and man, 4 episodes in, and things have really come a long way here. Interesting episode. I don't think it's that fun though. It's almost like, okay, when are they going to break to the serious meat and news of it? And I think they actually held back a little bit. What's your initial take on this episode?
Well, this is after the major shock. Shock? I don't know about shock.
A shock to the system. That is really idle.
Yes, we'll because there's a dead man.
Or Shock Me, which would be a kiss. Or Shock Ma, which is also one of the greatest When Animals Attack movies of all time.
Shock Ma sucked the monkey balls, okay?
Well, let's not go there right now.
Okay, sorry. Yes, speaking of sucking monkey balls, not this episode, but the fact that even whenever you are trapped in a little town surrounded by a fence that will destroy you, you still have to go to school. It really is prison. But
well, it is, because it's, go ahead, I'm sorry. We'll dive into that.
Yeah. This episode goes ahead and wants to address right off the bat, okay, the sheriff is dead. We killed Terrence Howard. What we gonna do? And they drive back home. And we actually get a nice moment in between where he is able to explain to his wife, what's his name? Ethan. He gets to go ahead and say to his wife, hey, I was sent here on an assignment. That is why I'm here, with one of the agents that I was sent to find was my ex. Awkward. Well, ex. Questionable. Side chick.
The chick I banged, yeah.
Side chick, yeah. And that moment lasts for, a moment before they notice the boy's gone. Where? He's looking in the mailbox. And inside, as you can see, a little delivery boy riding his bike away.
Yeah, like it was super late at night. This is so silly.
But inside there is a letter that's saying, "No, we are excited that you will be admitted to Wayward Pines school here today, starting at 8 a.m. tomorrow sharp." But also there is a package. And inside, what is there but a costume? There's a new sheriff in town, and his name is Burke.
The problem I'm having right now is, how do you go through what they've gone through? And even though you can see they're all visibly shaken and disturbed emotionally and all that, I feel like everybody's suffering at the exact same emotional level, and that's not realistic. I think the kid does a great job of acting a little aloof and troubled in this episode. I think for some reason, I think his acting spot on, even though he's one note. You kind of emo-ish, but for some reason it's compelling rather than annoying. The wife I mentioned before is good too, but I thought, when you up the ante with killing something, being walled in around the city and all that, at some point, you're going to go all Harry Lloyd and go, that's just it. Our pets' heads are falling off and you're just going to lose it. And that's why I'm going, why hasn't this happened yet? I just don't get it. You have this big violent episode, like you say here with the sheriff dying. Okay, another major supposed character dying within a few episodes. Okay, I'm okay with that. It was done well. And we know that that's to make him sheriff. But when they kind of not really seem to be too bothered by it more than what they have been with anything. I'm going, God damn it, what the hell's going on?
Okay,
That's my only complaint.
here's the thing. The only person who has seen anybody dead thus far, actually seen them dead, like, I mean, you could argue the wife was there at a distance. The boy, turn your head away, Bobby.
Yeah.
But Ethan is the one who saw the woman that he was talking to in the first and second episode get her throat slit. He saw that. Okay. And he's the one who shot the sheriff, but he didn't shoot the deputy.
Stop.
Sorry, I had to. But here, Ethan is the one who is trained for this. He's seen dead bodies before. He's done terrible shit before, and he's said as much. That's why he got with whatever her name is, the
Side piece.
the side piece from Sin City. Yes. But that was one of the reasons they bonded and connected and got to that point. They were involved with something horrible. He's done terrible things in the name of something good, and he has had to live with it. So, yeah, I can see him pushing through. I can see him pushing through just fine.
See him.
His wife did not actually see anything. Like, even if she saw the shot, he was already gone, hit, and she was so traumatized. Well, not traumatized. She was so stunned by what the sheriff was trying to do to them that there's relief after that. There's relief. He's gone. She doesn't have to touch the body, doesn't have to look at the body, doesn't have to look at the consequences. The kid doesn't have to look at the consequences either. Even having to run the guy over. They are still disconnected. Put them in front of an actual body, I think that there will be a far more dramatic reaction from them. You know what I'm saying?
I do, and I can buy that. It seems like, wait a minute. Again, obviously he knows you can't call out something's going on, but you just don't see him dealing with that, where he just takes a few minutes out of the whole day to kind of look at the big picture. And that's one thing that I think anybody in a situation, even as well trained as him, would suffer. And Ben, their son, he's like, yeah, okay, I guess we'll have to go to school here. And of course, the teacher's, psychological ops kind of chick or whatever, and you could tell there's programming going on with the town and indoctrination with it. And it's kind of a cool back and forth here. And I will say this, there's some great cinematography here. All the scenes of the main street there with a few buildings, where when they film it and you can see like the tips of the mountains on the back of the buildings, it's so gorgeous to look at. And then there's a great scene here where his wife's want to talk to his side piece, where she's looking across the street in like the Perfect Bean or whatever the coffee place is, and then you see the way the camera focuses, you see the side piece coming up on her bicycle, and they're both incredibly good looking women, my goodness. So obviously when he suffers trauma, he goes and takes his emotions out in the arms of other women, which is pretty standard stuff. And even Ben at school, after the first day, we see him. We see a chick coming up and talk to him and all that, and she's obviously interested in him. She touches him on the shoulder and goes to walk him home, and they go to walk home, and it's just a complete honey plot. She's a plant. I mean, she's doing all the things the professional liar would do, as far as making like you're interested with the smiling, the intense eye contact, the physical touching, the getting your space, and she's doing all the stuff. She's acting clingy, like she's already got a boyfriend. And in a town like this, where there's not a lot of selection, you can see where stuff like this might happen quicker. Like with Ethan's side piece, who's now remarried, and this whole thing about the time and what year it is doesn't get brought up either. So it's getting very frustrating, because you're like, wait a minute, they've got a lot of major cognitive dissonance here. We need some sort of release from it. In this episode, I don't feel like you get it. Instead they tease it along. And when we saw Creature at the end of the other episode, where they're trying to leave and all that, we're like, what the fuck? I want to hear that. Or the guy in the tree, what the fuck? And then of course Ben's asking her, hey, what's on the outside, what's going on, all that too. It's like, hey, if you don't watch it, bro, you're going to get your throat slit too. So there's not a moment's rest for any of them. And I just wish we could have a little bit more of that paranoid feeling of it's us against everybody else. We can't trust anybody. And yet it's still kind of effective, because this is what a teenage boy would go through. And I think he does a good job with that too. So I can't complain, but by now, if you notice, very few people are riding cars. It's usually just the delivery drivers and stuff. It's a big deal. I mean, so at some point there needs to be a major freak out on what the fuck is going on here, not just a slow burn. And I just think it would happen. But with the possible citizens arrest being introduced angle in here, I'm thinking maybe we might get one. What do you think?
Yeah. So the citizen's arrest is really interesting and introduced as well. An interesting character. Peter, as that's the only part of his name I can really remember, is arrested by the nurse.
Right.
And they pretty much say, okay, well, here he is. He was going ahead and putting graffiti over town saying, don't believe their lives, talk about your past, revolution. And now he has to get his throat slit. Have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and obviously Ethan's like, I'm not doing that. And the nurse says, well, someone will happily do it for you. I'll do it myself. And Ethan, again, he insists, no, that's not happening. And for now, the matter is dropped. And later on in the episode, we'll have a bit more to talk about. But what's fun is, a teenage boy being gaslit. It is, yes. His teacher is pretty much saying, "Where are you from? Okay, where do you live? And where is home?" And he's giving the answer, Seattle. It's still Seattle. And she seems disappointed. But later, he does get to walk home from school. He decides with this other young female student, and they're just walking on home. And that's when we get my favorite scene is actually the one with the wife.
Yeah, walking across the street to talk. Yeah, this is good.
Into the toy shop.
Yeah.
Because she is very careful. She's not really looking around, but she goes up and says that she's wanting to get a gift for her son. And so awkwardly, the side piece goes ahead and brings up, oh, he likes music, right? How do you know that? Well, it's not going to be addressed right now. They just she plays a music box that she said her husband makes. And she says, we have 30 seconds. Say what you need to say. And it's a very mature conversation.
Yeah, actually it is. They could very easily made this a stupid one, and it's not. It works, and it's realistic.
Yeah. And I like the music box. I love music boxes. Well, in Dark Shadows, a Dan Curtis production. No, sorry. Sorry.
It has to be said.
Well, yes, there is Josette's music box. This isn't Josette's music box, but, it'll do. But that takes us back to, like I said, them walking. And the mom goes to the school to pick up her son, and her son's not there to be found. Right. And thankfully, the town is small because she just goes driving. What did I tell you? Or walking, I guess. What did I tell you? I was going to pick you up. And the girl goes ahead and takes the blame. I'm sorry. I asked him to walk me home. I practically forced him to do it, trying to take the blame.
Way too smooth, in my opinion. I like it, but way too smooth.
Yes, definitely. And meanwhile, we go ahead and get something that we actually glossed over earlier. The mayor of the town, went ahead and said about pretty much, hey, I have special access on the citizens of Wayward Pines, and now you do too. And, a more subtle way of saying it. But quickly, Ethan is able to find this box of files underneath his desk in a secret floor chamber, which if you take off the wood floor, it's actually revealed to be sleek and modern. And Very not with the times of this old-timey sheriff station.
It's a nice spy touch, though.
Yes, that's right.
I like that.
But the files are nice and sleek looking, and he's looking through the citizens, and he decides to read up about Peter and has a conversation with him about what happened. And Peter goes ahead and explains. It was 2001. He was with a woman in a hotel, and it was a very attractive woman. He was cheating on his wife. And he says, "Oh, well, I wish I could have said it was a one-off, or I was a moment of weakness, but I'm not going to lie." And so he ends up with that woman, and he says that he goes to sleep. He wakes
After 5
up.
drinks, I brought her back to my room where we could continue the party. When
That's
I woke
right.
up in bed, it was a different hotel, but the same woman, except
She was older. And who was it? But the nurse.
Pam getting a little D.
Well, yeah, that was a shocking reveal, to say the least.
I bet Pam gets down. You look at her.
But it's in
She's
no.
confident.
It was shocking because you didn't realize how connected it was. You know, it adds another layer to it, like an onion. No, sorry. But no, it is really really interesting. And Ethan wants a chance to speak more with the mayor. So they go ahead and he talks with his wife, and they come up with a solution. Having dinner with the mayor and his wife, who happens to be the teacher. And they go ahead and decide, well, let's not go ahead to a house. Let's go somewhere. You need to see the town. They go to the Biergarten. And that is where I'll go ahead and pause and let you go.
Yeah, I think obviously the whole thing with Ben here, and the teacher kind of going over stuff. She gives him a guitar. She's not being overly sexual with him, but the way she gives him the guitar and other stuff, it's complete manipulation and taking advantage of it. And we always talk about people in positions of power, basically men over women, but here it's the opposite. To me, she gives off a creepier, more disgusting, evil vibe than Nurse Pam does. Nurse Pam seems to be more of those hard-ass, old-school types that if you understand her position, you can deal with her. This other one's a fucking whack job to me. And here at the beer garden, it's a nice little bit where, because it's that small of a town where everybody kind of sees everybody, and there's a nice shot of them all sitting down starting to talk. And of course, this is a spy sort of thing, right? Where they're trying to gain some information on the, how do I say it? Not necessarily on the up because
information.
they want it and they got to get it. And as like he said to his wife, he goes, Ethan says, I think he was trying to tell me something. I don't know why, but I want to, we get to him, try to get it out of him. So, Kate's in the back there with her husband, and she sees him come in. She looks disturbed, and they're kind of watching. And then they're sitting down, and it's kind of true. You get a little, not ominous, but you get a little bit of double entendre sort of stuff with the mayor talking to them, because of course the girls have to go potty together, and that's when they do it. And then of course Pam is there, because Pam of course has to influence everything. And not before we get a speech from the teacher, basically talking about how being a sheriff is exactly like being a teacher, because you have to set boundaries and have punishment for when you do all that. And it's
to go ahead and say kill the man.
Yeah, because the whole thing here is, he gets the phone calls from Pam basically saying, "Hey, you got to whack this dude tomorrow," and he's trying to figure out how not to do it with Peter. And he sees what Peter wrote, and he gets a story, and he's looking into it. So we've got this like built-in timer bit going on. But when Ben talks about the mountains, the pine trees, the look of fear in everyone's eyes to the mayor, I'm like, that's a nice little line with these two guys talking. It's not. I don't feel like this episode is building towards anything. So this episode, out of all of them so far, I've seen most like the most soap opera-ish, drama-ish. And that's not bad. But again, with some of the big things out there, you almost forget that that's what's going on. And Amy, the girl that the honeypot, as I like to call it, you see her at night throwing rocks at his window because sexual role reversal. Guys used to do that to the girls, and she's dressed up and they sneak out or whatever and talk and everything. And then, of course, he gets friend zoned because he gets kissed on the cheek, but then they kiss a second time on her lips. And I'm like, oh boy, this thing's escalating quickly. But I have to bring this up. That way we'll never bring it up again unless something major happens. But the fact that Ethan is now the sheriff, I don't think these scenes are meant to be funny. They're supposed to be meant to be just kind of make you feel a little awkward because it seems out of place. But Arlene, his secretary, brings in the cake or whatever, and she's there, and she's at the bar also there, saying how the old sheriff was really nice and really, nice to him. And Pam insinuates that they were having sex and stuff, and maybe they were, but Arlene, no Lucy from Twin Peaks. I mean, that's your gold standard right there.
No.
It's not even close. She's not bad, but it's like, okay. But of course,
Lucy was insufferable with her storyline, but she was definitely easier to have around.
Yeah. The escalation here with most of the key people in the town at this small little place is great because Ethan says, hey, I'm honored to be the sheriff, and as long as I'm in charge of this town, I'll do everything in my power to ensure that the evils of this town will be brought to justice, brought to light, sort of thing. And so that's the double entendre that he's basically going on with Pam about, and I like it because Pam, she's such a militant in a way. That she's buying into it looks like, because he's realizing, oh, she's really one note. If I really, approach it this way, and you see him kind of figuring the stuff out. And the point you made earlier about him adjusting to it because he's been through this before, we know that is good because you see it here. The only really thing that I thought was a bit implausible here is at the end when Dr. Jenkins are here at night when they're walking home or whatever, meet the couple, and they start talking about stuff, and it's like, this nerdy dude with glasses walking in the middle of the night, checking on the progress of his latest species, these certain sort of pine trees. Bullshit. I mean, come on. With all the shit you're throwing at us, TV show, don't insult us with this kind of nonsense. We've seen this guy take an overt interest in everything. Your radar should be up because he was the guy, basically wanting to operate on your ass. And you're trying to have all this conversation with him about pine trees and all sorts of stuff. I'm not buying it. Just not buying it at all.
No, you shouldn't buy it.
No.
But
the end with Peter here, though, I think it's the big thing. So I want you to kind of talk about that here a little bit.
So basically, Ethan comes to a decision. All right, I'm not going to be able to stop them wanting a reckoning. So what I'm going to do is, Peter, let's go. And he takes him out to the fence. And they stop before the door, and he pretty much he wants to know about it a little bit before he tries to let him go. But Peter isn't really wanting to have it.
Peter knows. Peter is a man that is clearly at peace with being at rest with what he's going to do.
Yeah, he says that there's nothing out there for him, and that there's nothing for him in here. He knows what's going to happen, but Ethan is a good man. He actually cares and wants to get involved, handle these things. He needs to have every advantage he can. And he pretty much says, hey, go ahead, kill me. And Ethan's like, no, I'm not going to do that. And I can't remember the exact line that leads to it, but they go ahead. He takes a hug from him and then pulls away, runs into the fence, hands touch the door, and dead.
Yeah.
Yep. And at that moment, thankfully with the camera, it's trying to look like he pushed him, and even though Ethan didn't want that.
Yeah.
Ethan goes home. He says, I'm getting out of here. Peter McCall's dead. I'm going to try to get some help. I'm going outside. Goodbye. And packs himself a little bag, heads on out, and takes a gun. And what could be out there? You have to wonder. And in the darkness,
Gollum waits, watching from the distance.
Stop it. No.
My precious. My precious. My precious pines!
Golem is small and not an athletic physique. You know, we get the
Big Gollum.
yeah.
It's Gaulish, his older brother.
The big thing here, though, that was a little different was right before they cut to that, because they're cutting through all these, is Nurse Pam shows up at the place because he goes to get some guns, and he's like, hey, I think, you know, you're better suited to be sheriff in town. She's like, that's the smartest thing you said since you've come to my town. And you see her sitting down at his desk, so I don't know if she's going to become it. If so, then why was he able to take the guns? And even though it looks beautiful, him free climbing over a rock face when it's probably 40 fucking degrees outside, completely implausible, and he's got a shotty with him. I just kind of didn't like this episode. I didn't hate it, but it's like we've got way too much here to make it feel like we're going anywhere. I feel like we're just kind of spinning in one spot, and I don't mind slowing down. I don't mind focusing on certain things, but the way this show started off, boy, we've come to a screeching halt here. Yes, we know something's on the outside, some sort of creatures. We're reminded of it here for a split second at the end of the episode. We see him traversing the walls, so symbolically, what's he going to do when he gets out? We saw somebody with a hunting rifle up on a hunting station, or whatever you want to call it, a few episodes ago. So that's kind of cool. I don't know. Maybe it's. This is the thing where we've got several good ingredients, but we did not come out with a superior dish here at the end in terms of the episode. And unfortunately, again, it's not a bad episode, but it's more of a one where I feel like you're kind of exhausted at this point here, and you're just kind of going,
Really?
you know, there was a lot of big things that have happened, and on the grand scheme of things, when these things happen, especially like with what they've gone through, it's emotionally draining. So you have this little bit of a fatigue that sets in, like a battle fatigue. And I just feel like that's what this episode is. Not in a bad way. It's just, okay, we're resetting for what the real twist reveal is going to be and all that. And, you know, it's not a bad episode. It's briskly edited. Again, the shots, the cinematography is really good. The characters are somewhat interesting. I like him a lot as the lead guy. I just want a little bit more paranoia, maybe. I guess I don't know. It seemed like it was going somewhere when he was in the mountain or whatever like that in the last episode, and he saw all the stores of goods and everything there too. And today we kind of got away from that because, again, if you're in that position, you'd be like, "Fuck, I want to figure out what that is," rather than let me just get the hell out. You know, why would you get the hell out when you're telling your wife who shows up with your son that, hey, we need to blend in, you know, so that way we can survive and act like we're a functional family, and we know that we have to fake it and then desert them. I get it, but it kind of on its own internal logic, kind of, again, like I say, just makes you go, huh, what?
Mhm.
You know, so
So
I don't know. The best scene I do agree with you on was with the two ladies talking in the toy store, having a very mature conversation about what happened, how one of them decided not to take the job in training. That's how we knew she was good and not just a super, you know, mom when she was going into the system, because she said, hey, I stopped my FBI training because I decided I wanted to be, you know, a mom,
yeah,
and I want family to come first. And I appreciate the fact that they clearly drew those lines because, you know, they weren't insulting each other. They were explaining, you know, what's important to them, and being as adult like as you can when you're face to face with somebody that had an affair with your husband, however long it may have gone, or however long ago it was. That was compelling. The rest of it, not so much.
yeah. I think I haven't seen an episode of Wayward Pines for weeks, so it was really good to come back. I think the episode was fine. I don't think obviously we're 4 episodes in, and we're still, even with this episode, which we wanted a little bit more from it. We aren't saying that, oh, this was bad, it didn't understand where it was going. We can't say that about The Prisoner or Twin Peaks. The only one that we've come close to saying something like that to is Dark Shadows, which that's just because you hate the Law and Order. But yeah, no, this show still very good. 4 for 4.
Yeah, that's why we're reviewing it here on the Xtreme Movie Show, especially, I guess I should say Xtreme TV, because that's our sub show, like we have all for everything that we watch. We just give it a nice little title, but good episode. Not as good as the others to me, but definitely watchable. It's not making me go, oh, this is stupid. So I'm curious to see how they're going to sub, because I feel like they're reloading their ammo right now, like it's on a commercial break before we come back and start picking things up here. So it did what it needed to do, and that's a part of it. Is, you know, you can't always hit home runs, but don't do anything stupid. In this episode, I don't think did. But it
They're
flirted with
still
it.
in the game.
Correct. You know, they're not losing. They just don't have a 20-point lead anymore. It's only about 4 or 5. But hey, it's elite is elite. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Wayward Pines, season 1, episode 4. Check it out. Let us know what you think. We'll be coming back to this here in a couple weeks, and then we'll be continuing the rest of season 1 for that. We'll be doing some films by then. Our schedules outside have changed dramatically recently, so we apologize for the interruption. We know that this has become one of our more popular shows over the past month or so here, which is a surprise and is always a welcome. So if there's anything you'd like us to cover, make sure you drop me a line, say so in chat, or send us an email or a text. We'd be happy to take a look at it for you here on the Extreme Movie Show. I'm your host, Rob, along with Professor Pixel from Central Florida. Have a good night, and as always, stay extreme.
Wayward Pines is an M. Night Shyamalan production.
Produced and run by the Duffer Brothers, a.k.a. the Stranger Things people. Good night now.